The first hint of trouble came in the form of a cream-colored envelope tucked under the wiper of my freshly waxed Chevy Silverado, sealed with a gold sticker shaped like a maple leaf. I'm Marcus Hayes, chief of police in this quiet corner of the world, a former narcotics detective who thought he'd seen the worst humanity had to offer. My wife, Lena, spotted it from the porch, her coffee mug paused mid-sip, her eyes narrowing with that look she gets when the universe is about to do something stupid. "What's that?" she asked, her voice laced with suspicion. We'd moved to Maple Grove 8 months ago, chasing the dream of a peaceful suburban Lithia big backyard, a porch swing, and a break from the city's chaos. So far, we had the lawn. The peace? That was starting to feel like a cruel joke. The letter was a masterclass in passive-aggressive bureaucracy. Signed by Evelyn Caldwell, the HOA president, it cited a violation of Maple Grove's bylaws. Our city-issued trash cans had been visible from the street for 9 hours past the permitted window. A Level 1 infraction, it warned, with a $50 fine looming for a repeat offense. I read it aloud to Lena, whose expression shifted from disbelief to a simmering rage that could have melted the paper in my hands. "Visible from the street?" she snapped. "Marcus, you'd need binoculars to see those cans behind the hedges. Is this Evelyn a professional snoop, or just bored?" I tried to lighten the mood, joking about trading armed robberies for weaponized mediocrity, but Lena wasn't having it. She crumpled the letter, pacing the driveway. "This isn't about trash cans," she said, her voice sharp. "It's a test. We're the only black family on this block. They're poking us to see how much they can get away with." Lena's words hit hard. I'd spent 15 years as a detective, reading patterns in human behavior, and I knew she was right. This wasn't just suburban pettiness, it was a probe, a prelude to something uglier. Still, my instinct was to play it cool. "We move the cans, give them nothing to gripe about," I said. "Petty tyrants like this thrive on attention. Starve them, and they move on." Lena just shook her head, a wry smile tugging at her lips. "My sweet, logical husband," she said, smoothing the letter. "You think this is about rules. People like Evelyn don't get bored. They escalate." Her eyes gleamed with a resolve that made my cop instincts tingle. She wasn't just angry, she was planning. Maple Grove was supposed to be our escape. After years of city grit, the canopy of ancient maples and the quiet cul-de-sac felt like a balm. Our 2-story colonial had a garage for my pride and joy. A 1967 Chevy Camaro, cherry red, restored over 5 years from a rusted husk to a gleaming masterpiece. That car was my therapy, a reminder of simpler times. For 8 months, life here was close to perfect weekend barbecues, neighbors we knew by name, and a local eccentric, Old Man Pete, who'd pop up with unsolicited advice in his garish Hawaiian shirts. "Don't plant tulips," he'd say, pointing at my garden. "Deer treat 'em like candy. Go for zinnias, hate those." Pete was the neighborhood's unofficial historian, a wiry retiree with a tan and a knack for gossip. Harmless, I thought. Charming, even. But Pete had warned us about Evelyn early on, leaning over my Camaro one Saturday as I polished the chrome. "She runs this place like her personal fiefdom," he said, lowering his voice. "Wrote half the rules herself. Cross her, and she'll measure your grass with a ruler." I'd brushed it off as exaggeration. Every neighborhood has a busybody. But that letter on my windshield changed everything. Lena dove into the HOA's online forum, a cesspool of complaints about dog leavings and parking etiquette. She found a pattern. The Patels fined $200 for a Diwali lantern. The Kims hit for a basketball hoop deemed an aesthetic blight. All minority families, all targeted since Evelyn took over. My weariness gave way to a familiar anger. This wasn't just about rules, it was about power, cloaked in the bland language of bylaws. The Real spark came on a perfect Saturday, the kind that makes you forget winter's bite. I was waxing the Camaro, soul music humming from the radio, when I saw him. Ethan Caldwell, Evelyn's son, 19, strutting down the sidewalk in a popped-collar polo and boat shoes, radiating the unearned confidence of a kid who'd never faced consequences. He stopped, eyeing my car with a sneer. "Nice ride," he said, his tone accusing. "Looks just like my dad's old Camaro. Stolen, maybe?" He stepped onto my driveway, running a hand along the fender, smudging my wax job. My eye twitched. "Kid," I said, voice low, "you're on my property. touching my car, and talking nonsense. Walk away. He smirked, unfazed. Look, outsider. He spat, the word venomous. This is our car. Mom says I can take it back. Keys now. Before I could respond, Evelyn's voice shrieked from down the street. Ethan, get away. He's dangerous. She power-walked toward us, tennis whites pristine, phone clutched like a grenade. I'm calling 911, she yelled, waving the phone. This man's stealing our car. She spoke into it, voice trembling with fake panic. Suspicious male at 142, Maple Drive, trying to steal our vehicle. He's aggressive, hurry. I stood there, stunned, as Maya appeared at the door, phone out, recording. Sirens wailed in the distance. Evelyn thought she'd won, her smug smile a mask of triumph. She didn't know I was the chief of police. 3 squad cars screeched into the cul-de-sac, lights flashing. 6 of my officers spilled out, hands on holsters. Evelyn played the victim, pointing at me. He stole our car. Arrest him. But Officer Jenkins, the lead, recognized me instantly. Chief, he said, confusion replacing his tactical stance. The others were Ramirez. Lee followed suit, jaws dropping. I crossed my arms calm. Afternoon, Jenkins. Just a misunderstanding. Ethan, high on his own bravado, lunged for the Camaro's door. I'll get it, he shouted. Ramirez tackled him before he could blink, cuffing him as he whimpered on my lawn. Jenkins turned to Evelyn, voice hard. You called in a false report, ma'am. That's a crime. Her face crumbled as the reality hit. Maya's footage captured every second. The neighborhood buzzed after that, whispers trailing me like shadows. Evelyn went quiet, her white mansion a fortress of drawn blinds. But Lena was on fire. She's wounded, she said, pacing our living room. We need to oust her from the HOA. I agreed, but knew we needed more than outrage. As a resident, I requested 2 years of HOA records, financials, contracts, minutes. After a week of stalling, they relented, sending a digital folder. Lena and I turned our dining room into a war room, sifting through budgets and invoices. At first, it was numbing landscaping fees, pool maintenance. But then I found it. $5,000 a month to Maple Grove Safety LLC, a company owned by Evelyn's sister, staffed by Ethan and his buddies. No disclosure, no bids. Pure fraud. Lena's eyes lit up. This is it, she said. Embezzlement. But it got worse. The company was formed right after Evelyn's election, justified by fake vandalism, reports likely caused by Ethan's crew. It was a $40,000 slush fund, siphoning HOA dues to her family. We enlisted Pete to gather statements from other victims, the Patels, the Kims, old Mrs. Larson, fined for her cats loitering. Pete worked magic, coaxing stories of harassment with his folksy charm. Our case was bulletproof, ready for the annual HOA meeting. Then Evelyn struck back. At 2 a.m., a crash jolted us awake. From the window, I saw 4 hooded figures in my yard, one spray painting my garage, another smashing my Camaro's windshield with a crowbar. Paint stripper bubbled on the hood. Rage surged, my hand reaching for my gun, but Lena stopped me. They want you to lose it, she whispered. Our security cameras caught everything. Rewatching the footage, I saw Ethan and his friends, then another figure, lurking in the shadows, on the phone. A Hawaiian shirt. Pete. My stomach dropped. A missed call from him at 2:14 a.m. Confirmed it. He wasn't warning Mayhay was orchestrating. I dug deeper. Before Evelyn, Pete had skimmed $500 monthly through a fake landscaping consultancy, LG Horticultural. When Evelyn took over, he likely saw her greed as a chance or a threat. Maybe she found his grift, so he blackmailed her into the security scam, taking a cut while she took the fall. Pete wasn't the quirky neighbor. He was the puppet master, using me to topple Evelyn while keeping his hands clean. The HOA meeting was electric, the room packed. Evelyn sat at the front, smug, expecting a tantrum. I stood, voice steady. I moved for a vote of no confidence in Evelyn Caldwell for fraud and conspiracy. Gasps erupted as Lena passed out our evidence packets. I detailed the $40,000 funneled to Evelyn's sister, then played the vandalism video, Ethan's crowbar glinting. The crowd roared. Evelyn stammered, crumbling. Then I turned to Pete, lounging in the back. But Evelyn's not the mastermind, I said, pointing. Pete's been skimming for years, blackmailing her into this scam. I showed his shadowy figure in the footage, his flamingo shirt undeniable. Karen shrieked, confessing his coercion. Pete bolted, but my off-duty officers nabbed him on the lawn. 6 months later, Maple Grove was reborn. Pete confessed, landing in prison. Evelyn got probation, paid back the $40,000, and fled. Ethan's crew paid for my Camaro's restoration. Lena, now HOA president, simplified the rules, uniting the community. Sitting on our porch swing, chrome gleaming in my hand, I raised a glass to her. To peace, I said. We clinked, and for once, the silence held, but I knew the cost of winning it.